Welcome back to the show. Line 3, Danny Dumaresque, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Patty.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I won't say too long this morning because I have to go into a meeting with the Public Utilities Board there now at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
But appreciate you having interest in this issue. I'm sure tens of thousands of people out there in this province are always looking at every month the light bill, and I can tell you that there's a major increase going to come in a mailbox near you, and we're trying our best to make sure that we keep these increases at the bare minimum, and I'm certainly going to be challenging the system to make sure that any revenue that we can possibly get to be directed into the hydro pot, particularly the $30 to $50 million a year that we get by selling hydropower, the surplus hydropower that we have under the Hubbard-Churchill deal. That money should be going into the hydro-regulated account rather than the Nalcor sinkhole. And but this morning we're going to go into the PUB to talk about setting up the public hearings. And just to put this in perspective, this is exactly how things are rolling out. Right now we are going in to have public hearings this fall, next month and the month after, on an application by Newfoundland Hydro to increase the rates by some 3%.
Right. I
now know that, and I will ask the PUB to confirm it for me in the meeting today. I also know that in October, Newfoundland Power is coming with its own rate application that will be at least as much as Hydro is asking for and probably more. I also know that Hydro has already indicated that the rate increase that they're going to get this year, retroactive, by the way, to January the 1st of this year, is not going to be enough to satisfy them. So they're planning to have another rate application next year. And one of the reasons, Patty, that they're looking at coming back for more money, I just recently found out from documentation from the PUB that you remember this incident on March the 4th of this year where we had some 200,000 people without power for about 5 hours?
Yeah.
I just found out that Newfoundland Hydro paid Corner Brook Pulp and Paper in Valley Inco $2 million cash for 5.5 hours of electricity that morning of March the 4th. I mean, these are the kinds of monies that are being just spent unbelievable, that are spent time after time after time, and the public certainly is no matter for the wear. They're not aware of it, and these are the types of things now that Hydro is going to have to come back again, and that's the way that they've been acting over there for so long. Well, there's only cash, it's only the taxpayers and the ratepayers' money, and we know all we got to do is come back to the Public Utilities Board, and they'll get the stamp and hike up everybody's bill.
Danny,
and obviously it's untenable.
The power purchase from Corner Brook Pulp and Paper, that's public PUB document?
Yes, that's right. That's a public for 5.5 hours. Right. 300. They paid Corner Brook Pulp and Paper $318,000 an hour. Now, this is the same corporation that's in receipt of $110 million of taxpayers' money. Yeah. And we have to go to them in an emergency situation and pay 20 cents a kilowatt hour and pay through the nose for emergency power. I think there's something wrong with that in principle. But certainly the cash of $318,000 an hour, it is outrageous and scandalous. And now they're going to come back, but they can easily do it. You know, who cares? There's only the ratepayers' money. They're going to come back and tack it on again and say, up goes the bills, no problem, but we'll keep it at 2, 3, or 4% so that it doesn't appear to be anything significant, and therefore people don't worry about it. But I guarantee you, Patty, on your show, you mark this down, the end of February 2016, when that light bill comes after the first cold month of our winter, I guarantee you're going to hear the howls from one end of this island to the other, because the rates are going to be substantially increased, and there's going to be a major jump in the electricity bill. I don't know yet if they're going to do it, but they're certainly planning to have the HST increase now 2%. That will also come into effect on the 1st of January. So, these are all major increases that are going to come, and it's certainly something that should be on the public radar, because there are tens of thousands of people, senior citizens, people on fixed incomes, people on minimum wage, that are definitely not going to be able to absorb these kind of rate increases.
It's good information that you shared this morning, Danny. I think everyone will be blown off their chair when they hear the $318,000 an hour for emergency power from a company that we've bent over backwards for in the recent years. It's not only the money that we loaned them, it's also looking for forgiveness in their pension payments that we've tried to be negotiated for the last decade, and they want another 3 years of forgiveness for pension contributions. So that's really quite startling. I had no idea that was going on. I do appreciate the update on the applications that are current and the ones that are forecasted. And one thing about, whether or not it comes in the form of a rate increase, whether or not it comes in the form of legislating or earmarking money that comes from upper churchill sales into reducing hydropower, one way or the other, Nalcor and Hydro get their money, whether it be in the form of a transfer from the provincial government at budget time, or rate increases, or applications for maintenance work, which is scheduled to be $184 million next year. Yeah. One way or the other, they get their money. That's one thing that we can always count on, and that's not exactly comforting, but them are the facts. Let you wrap up really quick. I got to sneak in a call before the news.
Yeah, well, let me give you another issue, because in line with this, the Muskrat Falls fiasco. When we get the first bill from Muskrat Falls, yesterday I was reading a 100-page document there, which is the independent engineer's report on the Maritime Link. And it's funny where you get information sometimes. But in this independent engineer's report on the Maritime Link, they turn to a table on page 82 talking about the debt service projections, what it will cost to retire the debt of $1.5 billion for the Maritime Link from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland, and the cost at 4% interest, which is probably going to be that or more for Muskrat Falls. If you extrapolate what the Maritime Link is going to cost per year now, just sit back and listen to this. Per year, it will cost us in interest and principal $430 million a year.
Why is it costing us?
Why? Well, I'm talking about taking the cost that the Maritime Link is now projected to be. I know we're not going to pay that cost, but if you extrapolate the cost of the Maritime Link, look at the Muskrat Falls, which is 5.5 times more expensive, and use the same interest rate of 4%. The cost that we're going to pay annually to retire the debt for the next 50 years is $430 million per year. Now, let's be clear. The federal loan guarantee that Mr. Harper came down here.
But what does the federal loan guarantee have to do with an investment from a mayor of $1.5 billion or whatever the end result is, unless there's an overrun, which does not include any extrapolation of compound interest? So what am I missing here?
No, maybe I'm not being clear enough. I'm telling you, on the basis of the figures that have been published to retire the debt of $1.5 billion, on the basis of that, which would be about $78 million a year, if you extrapolate that 5.5 times more, because the Muskrat Falls project is 5.5 times more, we're up to about 8.4 and counting.
What does that have to do with Newfoundland ratepayers?
Who's
retiring that debt? We're not involved in that debt.
No, I don't know. I'll repeat again. On the basis of retiring $1.5 billion at 4% interest, which we do not have to pay, but using that as the first evidence, this is real evidence of how much it costs in principal and in interest to retire $1.5 billion. The Newfoundland ratepayer has to retire $8.5 to $9.5 billion for Muskrat Falls.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why are we not dealing with that number as opposed to trying to make the math speak for the $1.5 billion, which is an American investment? I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, $1.5 billion is going to take a quarter of the time to retire as 6. We can do that math.
Yes, I know, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to reference you to something very concrete in black and white as to what it's going to cost to retire that debt. And it's $430 million.
Over what time frame?
Over a 50-year time frame for Muskrat Falls.
And 57, yeah, okay.
And the problem is the federal loan guarantee makes us sign on in blood that 100% of that revenue required to service that debt must come from the ratepayers of Newfoundland and Labrador. So can you imagine what increase there's going to have to be? It's going to have to be at least 35% into year one.
I thought it was 25.
Well, 25 was on the basis of $6.2 million. That's now increased to $8.3 billion and counting. So it's going to be at least 35% in year one.
It was 6.2, and you're calling it 8.3, but the 8.3 is also 6.99 plus interest on construction, right? So the 6.2 is actually a bigger number than that too, Danny.
No, actually.
Well, what's the 8.3 then?
No, the 6.2 actually was including the 1.2 for the Maritime Link. It was actually $5 billion for the plus interest for.
Yeah, but you're using 8.3, which is an interest included number.
Yes, it is, and that's what I'm using because it's the basis on which you have to pay. You have to pay the interest too.
Oh, I know you do, but that's why we always present those numbers out of context. The 6.2 might include the Maritime Link, but it doesn't include the interest in construction. But yet, when people go to intensify the number to make a point, they use 8.3, which is 6.99, and interest on construction. So the 6.2 should indeed, if we're going to use those numbers, also requires the addition of the interest during construction, so that we're using actual apples-to-apples numbers.
No. The apples-to-apples, Patty, would be $5 billion plus interest during construction. That's apples-to-apples with 8.3, including interest. And, as I said, the premier of this province is out there every day telling people how we're going to generate hundreds of millions of dollars from Muskrat Falls. Yes. What he doesn't tell people is that at the same time as we're getting this cash from, by the way, everybody on the island of Newfoundland and Labrador is the one who's paying this money. At the same time we're taking it in the right hand, we have to give it to the international banker to the tune of $430 million a year for 50 years, and it's got to come on the backs of the ratepayers. So
that's right.
The financial tsunami that's coming on the light bill, I'm telling you, people are not prepared for it, and it's time that people put a focus to this particular issue because there will be tens of thousands of people that will be at a kitchen table looking at that light bill and saying, "How am I going to do that this month?" There will be $100, $150, $200 more per month in a couple of years' time, and we must deal with that issue now. The political parties must come forward with concrete proposals to show how they're going to mitigate this unbelievable financial bill that's certainly going to be untenable for tens of thousands of people.
And currently their only answer is any outside of province sales will be attributed to decreasing my bill, which is no answer at all.
It is no answer.
Danny, I do have to go. I mean, regardless of what that number is, they're all willing to commit to that, even though the Tories relate to that game to say they would indeed to follow what was the Liberals the first out of the gate to say that they'll put that money on the bill. You're right, the math is what it is, and whether it be the repayment or retirement to 1.5 and the 8.3 and 50 years and $430 million a year to Goldman Sachs, is it we got the money off? I can't remember now. I got to take a break though, Danny. Appreciate the call. Stay in touch.
Yes, I'll keep you up to date after this meeting, and we'll keep on fighting it.
Sounds
Take care.
Good. Thanks.
All the best. Bye-bye.